Shalom. First off, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachar. I want to give double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of GMS who have taught us this word and teach us this word today. And I want to give a salutation unto the elect of the nation of Israel. This is the brother Yatazak Bob with the GMS Nebraska camp. And in this lesson, what I want to get into is going into how the Lord deals with quality over quantity. And based off of that, let's get this precept, which inspired me to do this lesson. Sirach chapter 16, verse 1, which says, "Desire not a multitude of unprofitable children, neither delight in ungodly sons." Because normally, having children is a blessing. You will want to have, a multitude of children. That was seen as a beautiful thing. Now, in this day and age, that's different, because we live in this evil world where it would be better off, if you didn't have children at this point, having a lot of children would be more of a burden on us who are in this truth. You can have children, it's not a bad thing at all, but it would make your walk more difficult, as well as, it adds stress. And then, in this evil world, you gotta worry about all type of, wickedness, that will come upon your children, these school systems, this indoctrination that Esau pushes, all type of things, but there was a point, you think in ancient times, having a lot of children was seen as, it was seen as a blessing, for lack of better words. But as the scripture is saying, it says, "Desire not a multitude of unprofitable children, neither delight in ungodly sons. Though they multiply, rejoice not in them, except the fear of the Lord be with them." So it's saying, okay, having a lot of children was seen as a good thing, but what was the point of having a lot of children if they were ungodly? It says, "Rejoice not in that multitude, except the fear of the Lord be with them." It says, "Trust not in their life, neither respect their multitude, for one that is just is better than 1,000. And better it is to die without children than to have them that are ungodly." So it says one godly child is better than 1,000 ungodly children. And that made me think, the Lord is applying this to us, but, the Most High even looks at it like that in regard to himself toward our nation. Because when we look in this time, we understand that only the nation of Israel are who can receive salvation. But even amongst that, when, the nation of Israel is only the elect of our nation. Even though we are all the children of the Most High, the so-called blacks, Latinos, Native Americans, the 12 tribes of Israel, but only the elect of the children of Israel are who is going to be saved, because the Lord is looking for the quality amidst our nation, not just anybody. That's why it says in Jeremiah chapter 3 and verse 14, it says, Turn, O backsliding children, said the Lord, for I am married unto you, and I will take you one of a city and two of a family, and I will bring you to Zion." So that's talking about, ultimately, those of us who will receive salvation is going to be a very small number. And, at the end of everything, it's like these people outside, they're going to be kind of loud. But it says the Lord is going to bring the elect one of a city, two of a family. And this is why you see, first off, look at the camps. I'll use the GMS Nebraska camp, for example, where, I'm not sure what the whole population of Nebraska is, but you have the whole population of Nebraska, and amongst that whole population, there's only 5 of us in the camp. And then even amongst that, you have the 5 of us in the camp, and we're out on the highways and byways pushing this word. And you have hundreds of people who drive by, thousands of people, and then only a couple will actually come up and listen to the word. And that's if they even take heed unto it. So it shows you that this is a very exclusive thing, receiving this truth and ultimately receiving salvation. Because as the scriptures say, many are called, but few are chosen. So you have even those of us who are in the truth that won't be of the elect. And that shows you how exclusive that the Lord is when it comes to who are his chosen, who are his elect. And that shows you that what the Lord is dealing with quality, not quantity. He wants the best, you know. And so, that should we have to keep that in mind, because you have like IUIC, for example, where they are worried more about the quantity of who is in their camp versus the quality, where they have a lot of people who who are IUIC. They're probably the most mainstream, not probably, they are the most mainstream Israelite camp, but you got people in their camp with lineups, with dreads, people, that's not teaching the proper doctrine, people who, committing adultery, doing all type of stuff, to where in GMS, to contrast, we don't have as many members, but you see everybody's consistently putting up videos. You see everybody's consistently hitting the highways, on point with the doctrine, doing the things that we're supposed to be doing. And who would the Lord have more look at more favorably? You have to ask yourself that, and it's those who have the better quality and not the quantity. That's not what Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai is looking for. And so let's get this precept real fast. We're gonna go to Romans. Let me see. Okay, Romans chapter 11 and verse 4, which says, but what said the answer of the Most High unto him? I have reserved to myself 7,000 men who have not bowed the knee to the image of Baal. So those who will not have bowed the knee to the image of Baal, or what does that mean in this day and age? Those who will not have bowed the knee to Esau's system, who won't receive that chip, who will strive for the truth unto death, who won't fold to this world. It says that the Lord reserved to himself 7,000 men. Now that 7,000 isn't literally 7,000 men, but that 7,000 represents a complete number, to where it may not be, well, I was about to say it may not be the majority of our nation, but we know it's not going to be the majority of our nation, because the scriptures say that 2/3 of our nation is going to be destroyed and 1/3 is going to be saved. So it's not going to be the majority, but that 7,000 represents a complete number. It's who is needed. It's who is supposed to be a part of that number of salvation. And that's all. That's what the Lord is looking for. It's the top quality of our nation, not the biggest number. So we have to look at ourselves and keep in mind, just because we call ourselves an Israelite or we're a part of the team, so to speak, don't mean that we good. We gotta make sure that we're making the cut of the elect of our nation. Let's go to Luke chapter 18 verse 7. Because it goes, I want to get the definition for that word elect. But Luke chapter 18 verse 7 says, and shall not the Most High avenge his own elect, which cry day and night unto him, though he bear along with them? So let's get that word elect. Strong's G1588, which is the Greek word eklektos. And it says, picked out, chosen by the Most High to obtain salvation through Hamashiach. Let's scroll down a bit. Let's get to the point here, which says choice, select, i.e. the best of its kind or class, excellence, preeminent, applied to certain individual Christians. So it's applied to certain of us who are in this truth. Just because we in this truth don't mean that we have the elect. There's many called, but few chosen. And so then we have to look at our performance and think, am I putting forth an elect performance? Am I putting forth that top quality that Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai is looking for? And it's not about comparing ourselves to the next man. It's if we're doing as much as we can possibly do. That's what the Lord is looking for, because like the scriptures say, certain talents have been given unto certain people. Some people have more talents than others. But are we flipping our talents? Even though we may only have 1, 2, or 3 talents, are we coming back to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai with more? Are we magnifying, our office, as the scriptures say? Or are we, are we putting forth proper work? Are we growing? And then let's go to Sirach chapter, let me see, I have it noted down. I can't remember the exact. Okay, Sirach 43 and 30. Which says, when ye glorify the Lord, exalt him as much as ye can, for even yet will he far exceed. And when ye exalt him, put forth all your strength, and be not weary, for ye can never go far enough. So each and every one of us, we have to ask ourselves, are we doing as much as we can individually? Are we putting forth all of our strength? Because we have a cap. We have it says that we can never go far enough. So really there is no cap to how much we can be serving Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. We can always be doing more. We can always be adding unto our, according to our ability. So all of us, men, women, and children, if we call ourselves the hopeful elect, then there's something that comes with that. Because the elect ain't just any Israelite. The elect are the top cream of the crop Israelites. Those who are really serving Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai in these times, really seeking the Lord. And as we have been taken out of this world and called into this truth, we're already on the right path. But you got a lot of people who are in this truth who are going to be weeded out. And I'm not just talking about IUIC. I'm not just talking about ISUPK. That goes for GMS as well. So that's why, we have to keep that in mind. Just because we're on the team doesn't mean that we're good. This ain't like the NBA to where, you can be on the team with a bunch of dogs, but ride the bench. And because those dogs did all the work to win the championship, you get a ring as well. That's not how this works. It says that we have to work out our own salvation with fear and trembling. We have to do that work that we be of the elect. We have to be putting forth good works and walking in faith. We have to have a personal relationship with Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Now let's grab I believe let's get this last precept. I just want to do a quick hit over that, because that right there in that Sirach, it makes it stand out even there to where how the Lord wants us to live our lives, to where we not just glorying in the fact that we having children. Are our children on point? Because one godly child is better than 1,000 ungodly children. So that's the same thing in the eyes of the Lord. One godly man is better than 1,000 Israelites, even though we all children of the Most High. Who's on point? Who's pleasing Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai in their actions? And that's why the scriptures say in 2 Ezra 9 and 15, it says, I have said before, and now do speak, and will speak it also hereafter, that there be many more of them which perish than of them which shall be saved. Like as a wave is greater than a drop, because you have a lot of us Israelites who aren't doing the things that are pleasing unto Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, that aren't living up to the best of our abilities, that aren't doing everything that we could be doing. So again, we have to ask ourselves, are we putting forth an elect performance? So that's all I wanted to grab with this lesson. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. Once again, I'm going to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai Ba'ashem Achak. I'm going to give double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of GMS, and salutation unto the elect. Shalom.